Hello, everybody. I'm Robin Da Vinci, and I'm here with Mary O'Neill again, my dear friend, but also a very wise woman. She is an executive coach and was formerly a psychotherapist, and she does, like it or not, have years of experience dealing with communication and getting people in the right headspace to be able to discuss a difficult topic. And our topic, of course, is money, because that's what I do. Mary has helped me over the years many, many times. And so I want to make sure that you get some of her knowledge, and her knowledge is really smart. She's a smart chick. She doesn't want me to say that, but she is. Anyway, okay, Mary, this is our third conversation. I have been a business owner for a long time, and I've had team members, employees, and I have had some employees that simply wanted their paycheck and other ones that wanted to progress and get more money and offer benefits and do these kind of things. And I was in that position, and I have many clients that have had teams of people that they've worked with. And then stuff happened and layoffs happened. Finances were tight and raises couldn't be given and extra benefit couldn't be given. And it was a stretch to give people vacation because they needed to earn the money. There are bosses that would hide in the corner, not come in, just go, I just can't deal with this. Really importantly, when we're talking about money, is we're talking about how we earn money and what our value is, and how do we make our boss understand our value in monetarily, and how does our boss view us when he knows he's up against a wall with funds, appreciates your talent and wants to keep you, but understands that he just can't do that. And so how do those two people with difficult conversation at a job, is it different than if you're married? Is it different if you're a parent child? Is that feeling different, or is the conversation just geared a little differently? Or how does that work?
It is different. It's a different playing field in the workplace. It's just inherent in the setup. There's a boss and there's someone who holds the purse string, so to speak. And so it depends also on the size of the organization, of course. But yeah, it's another difficult conversation. Again, the same elements are going to play out. And I think the biggest thing that people can be aware of is to recognize, become aware of what's going on inside of them. There's so much of conflict resolution, in this case, just addressing conflict. I don't know that you'd even have a resolve necessarily, but to be aware of doing your inner work before you do the outer work. What's happening for me? I think approaching a conversation from a place of being emotionally charged around it because you're feeling upset and need to pull in, tighten the belt or whatever. If you're approaching that from an emotionally charged state, the likelihood is that the conversation is going to be emotionally charged as well. I think people have to really do their own work to examine what is happening for me right now. I have this message I have to convey. It's important I convey it, and I can't avoid it any longer. What's happening for me? What is this rooted in? What am I afraid this other individual is going to think when I bring this up? Also, the personality of that individual, my personality. If I'm someone who doesn't mind being a little assertive, when I'm comfortable, that's my comfort zone to be assertive, the conversation might go along more smoothly. But if I'm someone who tends to shy away from that sort of thing and has trouble being assertive, it's going to be a little more sticky, and who's the individual I'm talking to, or individuals, what's the makeup of that team that I have to address? So a lot of that has to be taken into consideration. The message has to be delivered. It sounds like you're talking about a situation where the message has to be delivered. As I said in the last segment, you have to learn how to feel the fear and do it anyway, right? The emotions are going to be there. You're probably concerned that you're going to disappoint people. You may be concerned that you are not going to please individuals. And then you have to look at your own experience around that. Are you comfortable being somebody who can disappoint people from time to time? Or do you wind up feeling like a less than you ideally would like to feel because you're delivering this message that's likely to disappoint? So much plays out.
One of the problems with a job is that the money speaks to your value. And so there's two different ways to approach it. I have added value and I would like to be paid according to that value. And then the person you're asking for the increase of money or whatever, it is almost determining your value for you. And so you almost have another layer of, do we see my value the same way? And money is the thing that compensates that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've come in contact with that caused me a lot of conflict is someone saying to me, I need to be paid more because everything costs so much more. And then if you come back and say, but the job you're doing is the standard, is this X amount of money? And they said, but I need more money than that.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one because the money is what places the value. Everything we buy, we determine when we're out shopping or whatever, those shoes aren't worth that value, or that car is not worth it, or I don't have the money to get that. But when you're working, and you either inflate your value or you feel like your value is not recognized, then you have to go to someone else who holds those purse strings you're talking about and say,
well, I think,
what?
this is not my area of expertise, but I will say that I know enough about the fact that approaching your boss for a raise should never be about the fact that you need more money because the cost of living is
right.
I mean, that's just basic no-no from what I understand.
Yes.
But it is about, recognizing the value and coming to be part of the solution, see if there's something that you can do to increase the overall value of whatever it is that you're working on, the product, the service, whatever you're delivering. Come with ideas, add value. I mean, people who get raises time and again are people who are adding value to the team, to the organization, to the product. They're thinking outside the box. They're challenging the process. They are able to point to and provide examples of times where they actually went above and beyond. And then you are adding value. I mean, we are compensated for the value that we bring to a team or a company. So that has to be at the heart of it. And that's hard to do. That also is a difficult conversation to have with yourself. If you're the person asking for money, you've got to deepen, and some people question their own value. Some people are full of self-doubt. This is also the inner work somebody has to do as a member of a team approaching someone. Do I believe I add value? I don't think my own business took off years ago until I really recognized the value that I added. And it wasn't about the money so much anymore. Of course, we all need to be compensated, but it wasn't until I believed fully in the value that I added to the people I was working with that I was able to actually ask for what I thought was fair,
Right.
But it took that sort of soul searching to really believe that, yes, this is added value, right? So that has to be the focus.
I think so. I think that if we're talking about dollar value in a job, and being compensated for what we bring to the team and to the business, we are talking about adding value. We want to be able to present ourselves as adding value when we speak to someone who does have control over the amount of money we make.
Absolutely.
We can never just go to them and say, I want more money. You have to do your research and do your soul searching. I tell the people on my channel that they're all walking resumes, that they're really just a living, breathing resume. And everything they've done in their life is part of their resume. And maybe they might pull out this section for their job. But as a human being, you are born into a resume. The date you were born, the time you were born, what you weighed, what gender you were born. All of those things are the first part of the resume, and then you get an address and a phone number and you have parents and you have, and you go to school. So you're always building your resume. And in your job, adding value is the thing. Would it be hard to replace me? Yeah. Am I very replaceable? Things like that. I always tell this story, and we can wind up the segment with this. My sister, who was really, really amazing at her job, she gave a year's notice for quitting, and it took 3.5 people to replace her. So every 3 months, she taught someone a part of her job, and they gave that person a part of her job. And so she had a lot of value, but it wasn't until she left or was leaving that they went, holy moly, we have to we've got to get a lot of people in here to replace her value.
Yeah.
And so the conversation with the boss is after you've done your work.
Yes.
Is after you've done your work to determine your value.
Yeah, be really clear. And I think as the boss, this is another really important piece. There are times where you cannot be flexible because circumstances are dictating what you can and cannot pay for one reason or another, right? And then I think it's so important for the boss, the leader, whoever is in charge, the manager, to deliver the message in such a way that so I am going to disappoint someone. Someone actually would prefer to be paid more. Somebody would prefer that X, Y, and Z happen, and I'm not providing that right now. Most important skill I think a leader can have in this day and age is empathy. To be able to recognize that, yes, I am going to disappoint someone, and I'm going to empathize with them when I hear their disappointment. I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to get angry that they're now disappointed. I'm making me feel bad.
Right.
I'm going to empathize with the fact that I just delivered a message that was less than appealing to them.
Right. And I think that every business would benefit from coaching on that level, because we all know bosses can be abrasive, and we all know that team members can lose their morale because they aren't getting even an empathic boss. Yeah. I mean, you can be a stern boss, but still be empathic and like understand what your team is going through, whether it's 100 or 1,000 people or 10. You can still be empathic and help and deliver a message in a way that it doesn't feel like you're degrading someone. And I think that's a real skill. And I know that's a skill you have. You have a beautiful way of communicating with people eye to eye and telling people, even if it's difficult, what they need to hear. And I think being able to receive difficult information is just as important as being able to deliver difficult information.
Yes. And in fact, I want to say that the Sheila Heen and Douglas Stone, who wrote the book Difficult Conversations, after they wrote that book, that was so wildly popular that the publisher asked them to write another book. And so they polled their audience, which of, I guess, millions, truthfully, what is the most difficult conversation that you have? And they were saying feedback, asking for feedback. And so they wrote a book. Their second book was Thanks for the Feedback. And what they said in that is that it's so important in terms of communication to learn how to receive feedback. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for this information. So I think a boss has to be ready not only to be empathic and self-aware. I mean, those are the two key competencies you need as a leader if you're going to be an emotionally intelligent leader, which is what I advocate. Are you able to communicate skillfully? Stephen Covey said communication is the number one skill in life. And I believe that. And so, when it comes to money, when it comes to conflict, when it comes to anything, you really have to ask yourself, how effective are my communication skills? You have to start there.
Wow. And I'm going to end this and say, do you guys all know how to communicate in difficult situations, but also how to center yourself to just have meaningful communication most of the time? And that's where we get into trouble. We think that we only have to have a communication skill, like for this situation or that situation, but really developing a great communication skill about money will help you in every other walk of life too. In order for you to communicate successfully, you have to look at yourself first and then project out, what you want the final product to be. I don't think that there's any other way to do it. I mean, if you want to fight, just run in and start an argument, right? I mean, is it really a fight you want? Because that you're going to get one if you don't center yourself and project yourself the way you want to be seen. So thank you so much. I am so excited to do this several part episode. Mary, as always, you are like one of my champions. And I think there just isn't anything that can be said. If you don't communicate well, probably not going to get what you want out of life. And you're probably not going to get the response you need if you don't learn communication. So thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk soon.